Hi, hello friends, welcome to World Explorer India. September 28 is celebrated as World Rabies Day. So today let us discuss in detail about rabies, how we can prevent the rabies, what are the options available for the treatment of rabies. World Rabies Day is celebrated on September 28th worldwide. This is to raise awareness about rabies prevention. This day also marks the anniversary of Louis Pasteur's death, who developed the rabies vaccine. World Rabies Day was started in 2007 by Global Alliance for Rabies Control, a non-profit organization with the headquarters in the United States. This year theme is Rabies, One Health, Zero Deaths. We'll highlight the connection of environment with people and animals. 0 by 30, that is by 2030 0 cases of rabies is the target. This year theme is Rabies, One Health, Zero Deaths. Continuing to work towards eliminating rabies around the world, embracing One Health approach to rabies control, which means collaborating across human, animal and environmental sectors. Focusing on the 0 by 30 goal to reduce rabies deaths in people to 0 globally by 2030. What is rabies? Rabies is a disease caused by Lissa virus. It is a zoonotic disease spread by the bites of the infected animals. It affects the nervous system and is 100% fatal if it is symptomatic. 100% vaccine preventable and 99% it is transmitted by the dogs. Prevalence of rabies. It is present in almost all the countries except the Antarctica region. 95% of human deaths occur in Asia and Africa regions. 59,000 deaths per year is related to rabies. One person is dying from rabies every 9 minutes. Let's talk about few statistics about rabies in India. India is contributing at least one-third global burden of rabies cases all over the world and two-third cases in the Southeast Asian region. Rabies is responsible for extensive morbidity and mortality in India. The disease is endemic throughout the country with exception of Andaman and Nicobar Lakshadweep Islands. Human cases of rabies are reported all over the country. The cases occur throughout the year. About 96% of mortality and morbidity is associated with the dog bites. Cats, wolf, jackal, mongoose and monkeys are other important reservoirs of rabies in India. Bat rabies hasn't been conclusively reported from the country. In India, we have case definitions like suspect case, probable case and lab confirmed case. Global burden. Every year, more than 29 million people worldwide receive a post-bite vaccination. This is estimated to prevent hundreds of thousands of rabies deaths annually. Globally, economic burden of dog-mediated rabies is estimated around US $8.6 billion per year. So, hosts of the rabies are dog, cat, bat, raccoons, hyenas, donkeys, domestic animals and the wild animals. Domestic animals are not a source of rabies if they are vaccinated properly and they are being kept away from the stray animals. Who is at risk for rabies? A person who has a dog bite, the person who are actively dealing with the animals like veterinary and technical staff, those who handle bats, healthcare workers who come in contact with patients of rabies. These are all the persons at high risk of rabies. Some of the facts related to rabies. Rabies is transmitted by the saliva of the rabid animals. Sometimes rabies can be transmitted through scratches by animal claws because there may be saliva in the claws sometimes, so there is a chance of spread by the scratch also. Rabies infects only warm blooded animals, so we can easily eliminate cold blooded animals like reptiles, snakes, or fishes, etc. So those animals doesn't spread the rabies, but warm blooded animals has a higher incidence and prevalence of spreading the rabies. Licking by a dog on unbroken skin is not considered as exposure. But if any signs of scratches, bleed is considered as exposed. That means if dog is licking the skin which doesn't has any wound or any bleeding or any scratch, then there is no chances of mixing of saliva of the dog with the human blood. So there is a no chance of exposure. But if the person is already has a wound and the saliva of the dog or animal is going to mix with this, then it is considered as exposed. What are the symptoms of rabies? These are initially not notable, but if it is very severe rabies, we can see paralysis, anxiety, insomnia, confusion, agitation, anger, paranoia, terror, and hallucinations. Hydrophobia, that is fear of water, it is a misnomer. Actually, what will happen is if we are giving water to the person with rabies, there is a spasms occurring all over the body. That is called as hydrophobia. But it is a misnomer for rabies. Hydrophobia is the fear of water. In psychiatry, that is completely different from what we discuss here in the rabies. So, if there is a severe disease, there are symptoms of spasms, vomiting, hyperactivity, confusion, and aggression. Sometimes these symptoms will mimic the Guillain-Barré syndrome, tetanus, meningitis, encephalitis, etc. So there is a need for differential diagnosis of rabies from this type of diseases. If rabies has been diagnosed and these symptoms are present in the patient, only supportive care and sedation can be given to comfort the patient, and all the healthcare workers and family members need to wear PPE to avoid exposure to the saliva or any sweat of the patient, because these can be highly infectious and it can be contagious to the person who is caring the patient. There are two forms of disease in India, like furious rabies, which is having the classical symptoms of rabies such as hyperactivity, excitable behavior, hydrophobia, and sometimes aerophobia, etc. Deaths usually occur after few days due to cardiopulmonary arrest. And there is second case, that is paralytic rabies, which is approximately 20% of total number of human cases. This form of rabies is less dramatic and less furious than the furious rabies. Here there is a gradual paralysis and there is a starting at the bite or scratch, and then coma slowly develops and eventually death occurs. The paralytic form of rabies is often misdiagnosed, contributing to underreporting of the disease. Incubation period of rabies, that is the incubation period of Lissa virus, is few days to few years. Sometimes it may take years. So vaccination is effective only during the incubation period. Means if the symptoms has been developed in the patient, then there is no use of vaccination we are giving to the patient. Once the dog bite or any animal bite has happened, we should watch the animals for whether there is any behavioral changes in that animal. That means a calm animal is becoming very violent, or already aggressive animal is becoming very silent. Both are considered as symptoms of rabies in the animals. So we have to be identify whether the animal is having the rabies or not. At least we should observe for 10 days, sometimes up to 14 days. So the symptoms what we should observe in the animals include violent behavior, irritable or attacking behavior. They are having excessive salivation, sometimes excessive drooling, and paralysis and death also do occur in the animals. If any changes in the behavior pattern of pet animals, better to contact the veterinarian immediately. Observe at least 10 to 14 days, and if there is no death of the animal, it can be considered as non-rabid. Lab diagnosis for rabies. Antepartum diagnosis of rabies is not very specific, although post-mortem diagnosis is very specific, where we can see in the direct fluorescent assay or DRAT, that is direct rapid immunochemistry test, where you can see green fluorescence and red inclusions in the test. So these are confirmative of rabies, which is usually done in post-mortem examination. Even though we are having earlier things like a CT scan where we can see cerebral edema sometimes, and sometimes saliva test with PCR, even though sometimes the test can be negative, but it doesn't exclude the patient is having the rabies, because during saliva we have to collect at three different times like morning, evening and night, or sometimes it may shed or it may not shed in the saliva. So there is very less specificity in ante-mortem stages, but during post-mortem stages it can be confirmed. Sometimes we have to take the consent of the relatives, because after the patient death, that is post-mortem, if we want to collect the brain sample, there is no need to open the skull, but there is a need for consent from the relatives, so that post-orbital, that is retroorbital biopsy also we can take the brain sample for the lab diagnosis. Earlier there was 4 labs in India, that is from NIMHANS Disease Investigation Unit Lab and in Goa, and AIMS Jodhpur and NCDC Delhi. But nowadays it has been extended. These are all the human rabies labs in India. Now we can see around 10 labs in India, that is from NIMHANS Bangalore, Rabies Research Center Kasauli, Center for Arboviral and Zoonotic Diseases Delhi, Infectious Disease Kolkata, Viral Research and Diagnostic Laboratory Punjab, Regional Institute of Medical Science Imphal, State Public Health and Clinical Laboratory Kerala, Rangaraya Medical College Kakinada, Hafken Institute of Training Maharashtra, AIMS Jodhpur. These are all the labs where diagnosis of human rabies can be done. These are all the 15 labs where we can get the diagnosis of animal rabies. Rabies vaccination was first developed by Louis Pasteur and Emily Rox in the year of 1885. There are 2 types of rabies vaccination available in India right now, that is intramuscular vaccine and intradermal vaccine. Deltoid muzzle in the adults and children is the most common site of vaccination. If infants and small children, it is anterolateral thigh is the site of vaccination of rabies. Vaccine should be stored at +2 to +8 degrees centigrade. It should never be deep freezed. If we are going for intradermal route, we have to take the injections on 0, 3, 7 and 28 days. 0.1 ml is the dose. That means you can see in the next, that is if it is IM, we are going to take 5 doses, that is starting day is the 0 and next is 3 days, 7 days, 14 days and 28 days. So in the intradermal we are missing one, that is 14th day. Otherwise both are having the same number of days where we are going to take the vaccination. But if it is intradermal, we are going to have 2 sites, that means 0.1 ml is given in both the hands, both the deltoid muscles, that is right and left, if it is intradermal. But if you are going for intramuscular, only one site injection will be given. And it is better to collect history of allergies before administration, like egg allergy. Sometimes if the vaccine contains any material which is developed from the eggs, then there is a chances of allergy for the patients. These are the intradermal vaccines which are available in India. These are the intramuscular vaccines which are available in India. Anti-rabies vaccinations and immunoglobulins available in India. These are all the things which you can see. Post-exposure prophylaxis. There are three categories. First is category 1, touching feeding animals, animal licks on intact skin. It needs only washing of exposed skin surfaces. There is no need for post-exposure prophylaxis. And category 2, it is nibbling of uncovered skin, minor scratches or abrasions without bleeding. Then it needs wound washing and immediate vaccination. And the third category is single or multiple transdermal bites or scratches, contamination of mucous membrane or broken skin with saliva from animal licks, exposures due to direct contact with bats, that is considered as severe exposure. Here it needs wound washing, immediate vaccination and administration of rabies immunoglobulin. This is the form which is to be filled by the healthcare workers. How we can prevent? Vaccinate your pets. Immediately seek medical help if bitten by animals. Keep away from the bats. Never assume animals are free from rabies. Don't handle pets or unknown animals. If bitten, scratched, licked on broken skin, clean the wound immediately under running water and seek post-exposure medical prophylaxis. How can we avoid the dog bites? Never disturb the dogs while eating. Never disturb their sleep. Watch for dog boards, and if you are entering into a new houses, touch unknown pets or dogs you should not do. And if a dog is getting provoked, you should not run away from the dog. If you are running away, the dog will again come behind you and it can bite you. Only thing what we can do is surrender for the animal, means we can either stand still like a doll or we can curl and we can just stay calm so that dog cannot bite. But if it is a rabid dog, then it is already violent, we cannot predict the behavior, so it is better for us to initially observe the behavior of the dogs and we should be protective against the dog bite. And if it is a small children, they cannot able to identify, so it is the parents responsibility to identify whether the children is safe or not. And you should take care of children. And also, if you are having pet animals in your home, ensure that it is not getting in contact with any stray dogs, and don't unchain so that it can move out freely. Whenever you are going out, you should chain the dog and take away with you so that it doesn't go into fight with the stray dogs. And ensure vaccination for your pet dogs so that it can prevent majority of the rabies transmission from dog to human. And also ensure that there is no garbage is being accumulated or collected in front of your house, because that is the source of why the stray dogs come near to your house and there is a chance of dog bites. So this is the one thing which you should remember. And next thing is, uh, some people are having a misconception that killing the dog can prevent rabies. No, it doesn't, because by killing you are not doing any favor for humans, because it doesn't has any effect that rabies can be transmitted from dogs to the humans. India has developed a national action plan for dog mediated rabies elimination in the year 2021. This is by NCDC, that is National Center for Disease Control. So these are the hashtags related to rabies. One Health, Zero Deaths is the theme for this year. So rabies is 100% fatal, but it is preventable. If there is any dog bite, wash immediately with soap and water and consult the healthcare worker immediately and have the vaccination. And also get your pet animals vaccinated earlier so that rabies can be prevented. These are all the references from which I have taken the data from CDC, WHO, Rabies Alliance, AVMA, NCDC and National Health Portal, Government of India. Do like this video, subscribe, share among your friends. Thank you.